Let's go, Knicks! Woo! Let's start the show. Hello, everyone. Another episode of Smells Like Wrasslin. What is it, 63, I think? Something like that. Eric again, Wednesday night. We got a lot to talk about. Very eventful episode of Dynamite. Very eventful last couple of days. I think what's today? Today's the 10th, right? Today's the 10th. Let's check a look at something here. So last time I chatted with you guys was the 3rd, which was 2 days before. I think actually that was the pre-sale of All In, and the 5th was the general sale. So between the last time you guys talked with me, the general sale has gone through for All In. They are currently sitting at about 60,000 tickets. I think I heard today or the other day, it's possible that they could be going up to almost 70,000 tickets sold. Um, that is a gigantic success. Um, you see the whole um I mean, that's it. Like me, I thought like 40,000 that would suffice, but like these guys are killing it right now. This is a huge thing for wrestling fans. This is a huge deal for AEW. This is a big deal for people in the UK as well. It's gonna be. We have no idea what this show is gonna be about, people. We have no idea what this show is gonna be about. They have not made the card. It is way too early to start speculating what the card could be because there's so many storylines up in the air. We still have to get through, Double or Nothing. And not only that, you have to book All In with the expectation that 7 days later is All Out. And then a little bit after that is most likely Grand Slam, somewhere before or after all this is happening. Those are a lot of shows that you need to book cards that people would be interested in buying tickets in, because you run a risk of oversaturating your own market. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, these are all shows happening in different areas, I mean, All Out's going to be in Chicago. All In is going to be in the UK. Grand Slam, obviously, would be in New York. So, like, how is this all going to go down? I'm not sure. But that's that was a big deal. That was a big deal. I'm very curious to see. And if memory serves me correctly, they have not sold out Double or Nothing yet. They still have maybe a couple of thousand seats left to fill. Like that's I would be. I mean, as a fan, I'm a little bit like not concerned, but it's Double or Nothing. It's being headlined by the 4 top young talents in the company vying for, the biggest prize in the company. You would think that maybe it would garner a little bit more spotlight. But to be quite honest, they haven't really booked much for Double or Nothing as of yet. So, Backlash happened. I forgot. Backlash happened. Cody beats Brock. Bad Bunny obviously wins. It looks like they're going to be doing a tournament for this new title. If I remember correctly, I believe that this title is supposed to be exclusive to Raw, but for some reason they have SmackDown guys in the tournament. So I can only assume, like, if one of the guys from SmackDown wins, he's just automatically drafted to Raw. Guys, listen, like, it's obviously clear that, like, shit's gone off the reservation at WWE. I mean, ever since Cody's shoulders hit the mat for 1, 2, 3 at Mania, it's been a shit show. I mean, you have this draft happening. You have free agents, which is stupid. Having free agents is especially in WWE is a dumb fucking idea. You want to know why? Because it's the same goddamn company. You mean to tell me you can't look at all of your employees and you can't go, these guys go on show A and these guys go on show B? You have free agents that they just book on whatever show? It's just, why even bother the brand? Why even bother the brand split? Why just say this is all one big roster, and what happens on Raw continues on SmackDown, continues on Raw, and so on and so forth. It's a continuation of each show. Why not just do it that way? You know what I mean? I don't like it. I want Raw as its own separate show with its own separate belts and its own separate storylines and its own separate wrestlers. And I want the same for SmackDown. And I don't want them to ever cross over until there's going to be some sort of promotion for a pay-per-view in which both of them are going to be on. You know what I mean? They won't do like, I don't know if they're ever going to do like the brand specific pay-per-views. Let's see. In the chat, free agents are stupid really because the guys who are free agents aren't really, yeah, you know what I mean? It just shows like, oh, listen, these are guys that we don't care about, and neither should you. You know, like it's simultaneous, like it's just not a good idea. I just want them to be 2 fucking separate shows. Well, Mustafa Ali is a guy who could benefit from being well, I mean, because he needs exposure. You know what I mean? So the more exposure he gets, the better. I'm just saying for storytelling purposes, that it's just I feel like it's just a better fit for if they just had two separate shows with two separate storylines. You know what I mean? Because then, like, technically there wouldn't be an A show and a B show. You just have A storylines and B storylines on each show. You know what I mean? Like, why, like, I would want to have, like, a top tier story on Raw and a top tier story on SmackDown. So there's a reason for me to tune in on both on Monday and Friday. But if it's all one big storyline, you're only still showing up for this or certain storylines on certain nights. So like if the Bloodline showed up on Raw, it was gonna get a bump. If the oh fuck off. If the Bloodline was on SmackDown, it would get a boost. You know what I mean? So I just think storytelling wise and ratings wise, just make them two separate shows. It's no big deal. I want AEW to do the same thing. I want Dynamite to be a separate show, and I want Collision to be a separate show. But I want that for a different reason. I don't think Tony could book like I just feel like it's easier to keep your storyline straight for one guy booking the show if you had it on two separate shows. You know what I mean? It's just easy to like put them in their own compartments. But I don't know. I mean, I still don't know. And they signed this guy from Fightful. I'm not really sure what his purpose is. But like literally they signed like an internet like podcaster, and now he's a part of AEW's team. I think he might have something to do with creative, something about he's like checking continuity. So I guess they need someone to make sure that all the storylines, I guess, are flowing together and making sense. And like guys aren't saying things and doing things that contradict from like weeks in the past, which I guess that makes sense. But like, isn't that a telltale sign that there's just too much on Tony's plate? That he has that he's spinning too many plates? That they need to have their own booking team for Dynamite and their own booking team for Collision? You know what I mean? I mean, to be quite honest, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe, Dynamite and Collision should be just one continuous storyline. You know what I mean? Because with, like, the WWE, you have the monthly, PLEs. You know what I mean? So there are, like, mid-season breaks all throughout the year. But on AEW, you only get, like, 4 pay-per-views a year. I mean, now, with the addition of Forbidden Door, and with the addition of All In, now that's 6 pay-per-views. And we're not even counting anything that's going on with Ring of Honor. That's a totally separate roster entirely, But there's just too many wheels being spun around for one person. Like it's just I will say this though. I will say this. I feel momentum starting to build again for AEW. I feel like this is a company that's starting to learn a little bit more from their mistakes in the past. We saw Thunder Rosa make an appearance tonight. We saw Miro make an appearance tonight. We have a big announcement next week, which it looks like is going to be the announcement of the Saturday Night Show Collision. We have the imminent return of CM Punk, if all the reports are to be believed. We have the biggest show they've ever had, All In at Wembley Stadium. Guys are starting to get healthy. We have Roderick Strong on the roster now. Hopefully, we'll get a Chris Statlander healthy soon enough so that she could take the belt off of Jade Cargill. Hopefully, we could get Top Flight healthy. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of guys. Hopefully, we get Kyle O'Reilly healthy. And then maybe we get back, well, I don't know what's going to go on with Bobby Fish, but things are starting to shape up little by little for AEW where it's beginning to be something that, like, it's renewing my interest. Because I got to admit, after All Out, it really soured me on the product. It took, that was when I stopped watching Rampage. It was just like the same, it was just, I don't know, it just didn't taste as good. It just didn't taste as good as it used to taste. But now I'm like, I feel like all the pieces that they need to be very successful and put on really good storylines and do a lot of great shit, it's beginning to happen again. but there are a lot of ways they could go wrong and a few ways it could go right. The booking for right now, from now until Double or Nothing, needs to be awesome. Then they need to execute Double or Nothing really well. Then they have Forbidden Door. Then they have All In. Then they have Grand Slam. You know what I mean? Like, that is a very, very busy summer. And then finally, at the end of the year, you get Full Gear. And they could call 2023 a wrap. But this is going to be a big year for AEW. Also, a lot of the stuff that's going on with WWE, I think a lot of people feel like how I do. With the ending of that Bloodline storyline at Mania, the wind's kind of been taken out of the sails. Like, Sammy and Kevin are really kind of just fighting people, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they've been fighting the Usos and they've been fighting Solo, but like, that's just left over from what already happened. The payoff for that feud was supposed to be Sammy and Kevin winning the belts at WrestleMania, and it actually happened. The only thing right now that's getting me actually a little bit excited for this tag division is the tease that Tommaso Ciampa is coming back. With the return of Johnny Gargano, him reforming him possibly reforming the Way, and then maybe the reformation of DIY. The story is already played out for Gargano and Ciampa versus Sammy and Kevin. It's already been played out. They're mirror teams. There are teams consisting of guys who love each other and hate each other. That they're either the best of teammates or the most bitter of enemies or rivals. Guys who have held on to, that have traded titles with each other back and front. They've tagged with each other. They've hated each other. They've gone through no-holds-bar matches. They've gone through feud matches. They've gone through gimmick matches. To have these two tag teams fight each other and possibly it being DIY to take the belts off of Kevin and Sammy would be an awesome story. So I am really hoping that Ciampa is healthy. I am really hoping that that is what they end up booking. And maybe Sammy and Kevin drop the titles that, I don't know. I feel like they worked really hard for those titles. But like, you could definitely have them hold on to them until SummerSlam. And I feel like a 4 or 5 month reign is pretty good. Like, I don't expect everyone to have reigns like the Usos did. You know what I mean? You need to start conditioning your audience to have more regular title changes, because regular title changes are needed so that the flow of your creative process can work. Guys need to come up and come down. That's the reason why I think Drew McIntyre is leaving. Because I think the moment for him was that Clash at the Castle. Roman already had the title long enough. You know what I mean? Like, they made their point. They solidified Roman as a big fucking deal. Guys like McIntyre needed that. They needed that moment in front of their hometown, that big reaction to carry over from their hometown into the United States. But it didn't happen. And now what's going to happen? You know, like, what is he doing? Roman still has the belt. They're probably going to be pushing the new World Heavyweight title on either Seth, Cody, or Finn. Where does that leave McIntyre? You know what I mean? Now, granted, it's pretty crowded in AEW also, but I do think they might be able to push McIntyre as a little bit bigger of a deal there, because let's be honest, he's a bigger name in that company compared to the other guys on there. McIntyre's great, you know? And he cut his teeth in the NXT Black and Gold when he, like, repackaged himself and came back all jacked and with a beard and shit. And he beat Bobby Roode for the title, who I believe McIntyre eventually lost to Andrade, if I'm not mistaken. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, if Drew wasn't going to be accepted in, if Drew's accepted in the NXT Black and Gold, then I feel like he would be accepted in front of an AEW audience, because I feel like the audiences almost are one and the same. So, you know, like, you need to have that flow. So, like, I wouldn't mind for DIY to take the belt sometime in 2023. Maybe you could have it at Survivor Series or at a PLE later in the year, maybe like November, December, or hell, maybe you do it at the Rumble. You know what I mean? Then maybe that sets up a Sammy and Kevin one-on-one match at Mania, which I don't believe they've had yet. They've had one-on-one matches, but not at Mania. I think they've had it at Battlegrounds and maybe, like, I don't know, some, like, offshoot pay-per-view that they have, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure, but I that's what I would like to see. I mean, obviously, you guys know I'm a huge Gargano fan. Like, I think he's the best wrestler in the world. So I obviously want to see that happen. And DIY is one of my favorite tag teams of all time. I like them more than FTR. I like them more than the Young Bucks. They might actually be my favorite tag team of all time is DIY. You know what I mean? I was so invested in their and them finally getting the belts. And it was so fucking awesome. And just the matches they had when they had the belts and then the subsequent feuds between Gargano and Ciampa, just awesome. Awesome stuff. So yeah, like I just feel like right now, like WWE, like they need to get their shit together because AEW is starting to pick up some steam, and they haven't had a really hot angle since Mania. You know what I mean? Owens and Sammy is oh, they were at Mania 37. Oh, wow. Was Logan Paul like the guest referee or something like that? Or like he was just out in the crowd? You know what, that might have been around the time I was actually not watching WWE. I probably took like a hiatus from that or something. Hold on a second. Anywho, so yeah. Let's go. Let's talk about tonight's Dynamite. A lot of shit happened. The main event for tonight, Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley in a steel cage match. We had Orange Cassidy versus Daniel Garcia. We hear from Christian Cage, Anna JAS versus Julia Hart in a no-holds-barred match. House of Black facing Bandito and Best Friends in a Trios World Championship match with open house rules. Rey Fenix and Claudio Castagnoli fight in a double Jeopardy match. Whomever wins gets a shot at the other's title. Rey Fenix being one half of the tag champion, so that means if Claudio wins, he gets a shot at him and a partner get a shot at the tag titles. And if Phoenix wins, he gets a shot at the ROH heavyweight title. So let's see. Let's go through tonight's show from the top. So the beginning of the show was already Claudio Castagnoli and Rey Fenix in the ring. The win goes to Claudio. Pretty freaking solid match. I mean, Rey Fenix is awesome, except for every single time that he wrestles, I have to like say a prayer and hope that he doesn't get fucking injured. So, but luckily he didn't get injured. He did lose this match to Claudio in a great opener. So now Claudio and a tag team partner of his choosing will get a shot at the ROH World Tag Team Championships. After the match, you see someone being stopped by Renee Paquette, and it's the returning Miro, the Redeemer. I'm so fucking glad to see Miro back. Miro is awesome. Miro, I feel like, should have filled the void that was left by the late, great Brody Lee. Brody Lee was like a big guy who was very athletic, who was a monster, who could be a heel, who could do comedy, and who could be a face. That's exactly what Miro could do. Miro's a monster. He could do comedy. He could be a heel. He could be a face. He could pretty much do anything. He's very well-rounded and versatile, which makes me wonder if Brody Lee were still around, how would he have been booked today in AEW? Would he have just been another big man lost in the shuffle? Because remember, AEW is also the company that has guys like Big Cass, what do you call it, a Big Bill, Lance Archer, Brian Cage, Powerhouse Hobbs, Wardlow. Like, these are guys, like big guys that they don't really do much with. Because to be quite honest, they kind of book all these shows like PWG shows where it's all like cruiserweights and shit. You know, like, yeah, you have some like, you know, like regular heavyweights, but like they do have like a super heavyweight division. You know, of big monsters. This is what I always envisioned the FTW title becoming. Now it's kind of just become this thing that Hook holds on to as he has this ridiculous undefeated streak that no one's talking about. Which I believe they're going to cash in eventually and maybe have Hook fight MJF at some point in time, and MJF gives Hook his first loss. Which, to be quite honest, getting your first loss from the biggest heel and the one, probably arguably the biggest star they have in the company for the World Heavyweight title is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I really wish that the FTW title was the Big Hoss title. It would have given a lot of these big guys something to do. It could have showcased their matches. Big guys, I think, work well with other big guys. I mean, case in point, look at Keith Lee fighting, what's his name? Donovan Dijak. You know what I mean? Like, those matches were incredible. Those were some of the best grouping of, I think they had 3 matches. That was the best trio of matches that NXT Black and Gold ever put out. And they put out a lot of good, trilogy matches or series of matches between 2 guys or a group of guys. So that's freaking high praise. Just give them their own belt and their own matches. You know what I mean? I don't understand. Then every once in a while, you could have a big guy fight for one of the regular belts, and then it kind of means more. It means something. Because you've got to see these big behemoths show off their strength. Now they're going to bring that sort of tenacity into, like, a regular person's, their regular heavyweight matches. It would be wild. I really think that they should do that. Are they going to do it? No! They do a video package on the 4 Pillars. MJF basically talks about how him and the 4 Pillars are like the Beatles. And he's Paul, and he's the greatest. And that's pretty much it. They do another video package highlighting the history between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. FTR comes to the ring. They say that they owe someone an apology, so they invite Mark Briscoe to the ring. Instead, you hear the entrance music for Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. Sanjay Dutt demands an answer to the challenge for Double or Nothing. Harwood accepts the challenge, but only if they admit to using Mark Briscoe to get to them. Sanjay Dutt denied everything. Mark Briscoe walks out. He onto the stage with obviously the crowd props for him. Tells everyone to chill out. Says Tony Khan gave him great news. He said that there's going to be a tag title match at Double or Nothing. FTR versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, and the special guest referee is Mark Briscoe. Briscoe passes out, cups everybody. He brings out some alcohol. He pours a bunch in everyone's glasses. Sanjay Dutt sprays the alcohol into Harwood's eyes. Mark Briscoe tries to break up the melee that ends up ensuing. And, Dax Harwood, he was blinded by the alcohol. He ends up accidentally grabbing Mark Briscoe and hitting him with a package pile driver. So that kind of ended that. So now they're kind of teasing that, is Mark Briscoe going to look to get some payback for getting pile drive by his own best friend? Is he going to recognize that he was being used by Jarrett and Lethal? Is he just going to go into business for himself? We don't know. Those are the questions that are going to be you're going to be heading into their match at Double or Nothing. Renee Paquette is backstage with Chris Jericho. She asked him, Renee Paquette was looking like a snack tonight, I gotta say. I can't help it, but she was looking great. Chris Jericho said that Adam Cole created an unsafe work environment. He went and got the law involved. He has a court order saying that he will, that if he is in the arena, Cole is not allowed in the arena. Anywhere that Jericho is, Cole is not allowed. So that is the court order. Roderick Strong walks in, calls Jericho delusional, challenges Jericho to a Falls Count Anywhere fight, which Jericho accepts. Jericho tells him to be careful what he wishes for because Jericho has an army. Strong ends up saying that he saw some fucking legal counsel and says that he has a legal document saying that the JAS are also banned from ringside next week. So no JAS, no Adam Cole, Roderick Strong versus Jericho, Falls Count Anywhere match. That's going to be awesome. Roderick Strong is one of my favorite wrestlers. I think he's absolutely incredible. I would love to see him have a match with Danielson. That's one of my dream matches that I would love to see. Now that they're both in AEW, there's actually a chance that could actually happen. If they were to ever have that match on a Rampage, I would watch that Rampage hands down. You book a match like that on Rampage, I'm getting out of work early. I'm taking the night off. I'm watching that fucking match. Excalibur makes mention again of Miro being seen backstage. Miro actually, by the way, in that scene that in that clip that he was in with Renee Paquette, walks into Tony Khan's office. So we'll see what happens. Then Renee Paquette is waiting outside of the office to see if Miro has anything to say. And as luck would have it, Thunder Rosa comes out and says, tonight's the night to get some answers from Papa Khan. So she goes and walks into the office. So Miro is back. Thunder Rosa's back. Big, big deal. Lots of shows that are happening. Lots of big matches. Lots of television time. It's time to bring in all your stars. This is what I've been talking about, people, since the beginning of this fucking podcast. Since the beginning of this fucking podcast, I was saying that AEW needed more television time because they have too many people that deserve that time. Now they have the television time. Now you start seeing guys coming back. You now see them. Now you're starting to see Miro, Thunder Rosa, CM Punk, Roderick Strong. This is good shit, people. This is really good shit. They do a video package on Sammy Guevara. Basically they had Chris. Oh, so they didn't really have anybody talking on behalf of MJF in his video package, but you notice a theme throughout the night as they start doing video packages for the other 4 pillars, that there was always a legend or someone that had mentored them that was speaking on their behalf, regardless of whether or not they're still with them or not. So Sammy Guevara's video package was kind of neat because Chris Jericho kind of was there putting Sammy over. Sammy was there putting himself over. Sammy's great. I like Sammy. I think a whole bunch of internet nerds get, bent out of shape that he gets to bang Ty Conti. But I mean, like he should be banging Ty Conti. Like who wouldn't? Like that's one of the smartest things Sammy Guevara has ever fucking done outside of becoming a professional wrestler and signing with AEW. So that's all good on my part. He's awesome in the ring. His character's awesome. I was really hoping for like him and Tate to lean really into the heel gimmick, and I was hoping for him to have a really legit reign as TNT champ, but I don't know what the fuck Tony was doing around that time, but shit got all fucked up. Then they switched to Tony Khan. Tony Khan talks about how this is one of the strongest cards in Dynamite history. He said that there are so many talented wrestlers backstage that they could provide, that they need to start releasing more content. And next week is going to be the beginning of a huge announcement. Everyone's assuming that's going to be the announcement of the new AEW show Collision, which should be airing on Saturday nights. Very excited for that. Once that announcement comes out, it's out in the open. It's a done deal. No ifs, ands, or buts or questions about it. This is going to be happening. Daniel Garcia gets defeated by Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy retaining the international title. Another good match. This was a night of pretty solid matches. We have Ventor's. I still don't know how to pronounce that shit. All of your fucking gamer tags and your user tags annoyed the shit out of me, Josh. But he's saying that he's hoping that Rollins wins the relaunch title. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it looks like Cody. I don't know. Cody's drafted to Raw, but I feel like he still needs to be the one to take the belt off of Roman. Seth getting it is all right, because then you could have Cody fight Seth. Ooh. Finn, I would like to see have a title reign, not gonna lie. That would really put over Judgment Day. Judgment Day having the women's champion and the top women and men's champions, that would really be pretty cool. I mean, Judgment Day, not gonna lie, like I wasn't really sure what was gonna be happening because they did this whole thing where like Edge created it. Then they got Finn Balor. Then the second they got Finn Balor, they turned on Edge. Then Edge has been fighting with Judgment Day for forever. Then they got Rey Mysterio involved. Now they got Dominic on their team. It's like a whole bunch of crazy shit. So, I wouldn't mind Rollins with the belt. He's super over. I honestly think Cody should win the belt. He's super over. Finn could also win the belt. He's super. I think all three of them are a good option. Does anyone know what brand LA Knight was drafted to? Was he drafted to SmackDown? Because LA Knight is the guy that needs to win a belt. They need to get these belts off of Roman right fucking now. Because what's going to happen is SmackDown is going to be just a wasteland of people that Roman's beat. None of the storylines that they put Roman in, I explain this all the time. I don't understand how people thought it was a good idea for Roman to win. There were a lot of podcasts out there, Roman should win, Roman should win. You guys are all fucking idiots. You guys are all fucking morons. Because now look what happened. You know what? This is me saying, I fucking told you so. I was right. Cody should have won. Roman should have lost, and the dam would have been opened. Like, the whole world title picture doesn't make any sense. We'll obviously have a clearer picture once this tournament ends and the new world champion is crowned. And then we're going to see how this is going to go. But, I mean, Jesus H. Christ, man. Jesus H. Christ. Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, great match. Orange Cassidy goes away with the win. They do a video package with Hikaru Shida returning. Excuse me. And basically the Outcasts are mocking how Shida's not even in town. She went back to Japan, but they issue a challenge next week. Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Hikaru Shida versus Ruby Soho, Saraya, and Toni Storm. Okay. Christian Cage addresses the fans, Wardlow, and he talks about his TNT title challenge. Christian's so fucking awesome. I mean, he gets nuclear heat. Like, people fucking hate this dude. They boo this guy. They tell him to shut the fuck up. They say all this shit. It really is great. Basically, he calls himself the #1 contender. He wants to know why there's so many daddy issues in AEW. He talks about Wardlow's father and how he wasn't famous, so he's not going to bother wasting his breath. Obviously, this harkens back to the feud that he had with Jungle Boy. He was mocking his father, the late Luke Perry, who's obviously famous. Now I was talking about he found a figure in Arn Anderson, who was looking for a son himself, because pretty much Brock is at, obviously Brock Anderson, who signed with AEW, is Arn's son, but we haven't seen him on TV at all. I mean, listen, I honestly think he was just probably enhancement talent or something like that, or maybe even along the lines of like having things to do for Dark and Elevation during like the COVID era. I don't know. But literally the crowd was so loud you almost couldn't even hear Christian talk. It was that fucking loud. They were just booing the shit out of him. So to make a long story short, Christian Cage is still on his quest to fight Wardlow to become TNT champ. I think this will be a great match for Wardlow. I expect him to win. I do not want to see Christian as TNT champ. They finally got the belt on Wardlow. Everyone's been waiting for this. Let's just let it ride for a while. AEW needs to start having a little bit more like title reigns that go a little bit longer. I feel like some of them are a tad bit short. Some of them are just right. Some of them are a tad bit short. And then you have Jade Cargill's, which has gone on for way too long. But I bet you Tony was like, you know what? She's undefeated. We're just going to keep her undefeated until Statlander's healthy. And that's pretty much it. Watch. That's exactly what's going to happen. They go to a video package, Darby Allin. They show him at his home. You get to meet his dad. You hear Sting talk about him. Again, legends putting over people. But yeah, so another video package showcasing another one of the pillars. Next match, it was Julia Hart defeating Anna Jay in a no-holds-barred match. This match, to me, it kind of sucked. But this was obviously one of Julia Hart's bigger matches to date. It was on Dynamite. It was a gimmick match. The fans already pretty much know Anna Jay, but to be honest, Anna Jay's stock has been falling ever since like Dark Order just started crumbling. You know what I mean? And then that was pretty much it. Once they put her with the Jericho Appreciation Society, it was pretty much a wrap. Renee Paquette's backstage with Best Friends, which is Orange Cassidy, Trent Beretta, and Chucky T. They're also there with Bandito. Orange Cassidy says he thinks there's room for 3 more titles in his backpack. Renee Paquette asked what the stipulation is for the House Rules match, because the House Rules matches allow the challengers to choose a stipulation in the match. The Best Friends, who they booked to be complete and total dunderheads, acted like they had no fucking idea that was actually the rules of the match. So the only thing that they said was they wanted no witches in the match, basically saying that they didn't want Julia Hart to interfere with the match. Well, that was a dumb fucking idea, because they got their asses kicked, and House of Black retained the trios titles and beat Best Friends with Bandito. I won't go too much into the match. I mean, it was kind of cool. I did like the fact that the House Rules matches are just spotlight on the ring and the crowd is darkened. You can't even see the crowd. I do like that. Oh, the race for second place. Yes, Royal. Me hoy, me noi. That is 100% what that World Heavyweight title tournament is. It is the race for the title that is not held by Roman. Let's see. What else do we got? Last video package they did for the 4 pillars was for Jungle Boy. Surprisingly enough, it was Christian Cage who was putting Jungle Boy over. I mean, even though he was coming off as a heel, which I thought was fantastic, I did like the fact that they used someone who actually hated Jungle Boy to put him over as a legit contender. So I thought the video packages were pretty good. I think it gives them a time and a place to actually practice and deliver their lines and explain who their characters are a little bit better than having to deal with a live crowd and audience. That's extremely difficult. So it was a nice, clear-cut way to know these are the 4 guys challenging for the title. These are their different personalities. Pick your horse and let's go to town. The final match of the night, Jon Moxley defeating Kenny Omega in a steel cage match. Now, a big, Don fucking Callis turned heel. He turns on Kenny Omega and stabs him in the eye. The forehead. Don, why? Why, Don? Kenny was gonna win. That's your boy. Oh, Don. So Don, that piece of shit, that carny piece of shit, turns on poor Kenny Omega, hits him in the face with a screwdriver, allows Moxley to pin in an extremely violent match. These guys' backs were torn up. They were doing double foot stomps on the chairs. These chairs were just sliding right off the backs. Chairs being wrapped in barbed wire. Unfucking believable. Extremely bloody, violent match. These guys beat the shit out of each other. Kenny Omega actually V-triggered Moxley straight through the cage. I honestly thought Omega's leg was fucked. He actually caught himself between the ring and the cage and the apron. But I actually think he kind of used that to prevent him from kind of spilling over. I'm assuming that was a planned spot. But just the way that Omega kind of fell out, it looked like something kind of went wrong. Amazing match. I gotta see. Hold on a second. Yeah. So that was awful. But this is obviously going to lead up to a blood and guts match. Hangman, I believe, is going to be the 4th man reuniting with the Elite, and they're going to take out the Blackpool Combat Club. I could only assume that possibly that's hopefully finally splinters off into the rematch between Omega and Danielson. I feel like that match has been teased. Omega, when Danielson talks of Omega, he kind of talks about it with an odd form of respect. Making note of Omega's athleticism and his in-ring ability. So I do feel like that is going to happen. I just don't know when. I would assume hopefully either at maybe All Out, maybe Grand Slam. I don't know if it would be Forbidden Door, but that's a match that you could put on any card and it would make it special. So really, Tony could just pick and choose which kind of card he wants to go for. That was it for the matches for Dynamite. The card for Rampage is as follows. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass take on the Butcher, the Blade, and Kip Sabian. Kyle Fletcher battles Action Andretti. Tony Storm fights Allison Kay. A segment with the Guns. Swerve Strickland and Brian Cage battle John Silver and Alex Reynolds. Dynamite for next week is as follows. The Outcasts, consisting of Saraya, Ruby Soho, and Tony Storm, take on the trio of the AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Hikaru Shida. Ricky Starks battles Switchblade Jay White in a culmination of their feud. I fully expect Jay White to win. This would obviously put an end to the win streak that Ricky has been putting up since he beat Jericho. So I'm very curious to see how that match is going to play out. Are they going to give Jay White a loss that quickly? Chris Jericho takes on Roderick Strong in a Falls Count Anywhere match, which I expect to be a great match. Roderick Strong, again, like I said, the guy has cardio for days. He's going to run circles around Jericho. It's going to be fucking great. Very excited. Very pumped for next week. And you know what I'm pumped for? I'm pumped to go to bed. I'm tired. I woke up early this morning for work. And I stayed up late watching Shane Black's The Nice Guys. I'd never seen it before. It was on Netflix. It was a great movie. And when you go to bed around like 3:30, and you got to wake up at 8 for work, that's what you call a dumb fucking decision. So, next week, we'll have a report on Dynamite and any other interesting news stuff that happens along the way. And we're going to talk about it. As I say almost every week, stay tuned to the channel. Big changes are coming. Big changes are coming that will reshape the landscape of this podcast for the foreseeable future. We're going to take this out of the minor leagues and into the big leagues, people. Right now, it's just a group of you guys who I already know who are nice enough to tune in and listen to me chat about some wrestling every week. Soon, my friends, the wave is going to get bigger. And you guys are all in at the ground floor of that. So a lot of big things coming. Stay tuned to the podcast right now. Only way to know if new episodes are coming out right now is to subscribe. Or if one of your candy asses knows me personally. So if you don't know me personally and you're a jabroni, you better hope one of your smart ass friends who is friends with me gives you the link to the podcast so you can subscribe. Otherwise, I ain't going to show for that shit. At least not yet. All right, guys. I'm logging off for tonight. You guys have been great. See you next week.